God, that intro song is so fire, just like tonight's show. We're talking rankings, leaderboards, high scores, and the lesson every gamer needs to remember. The scoreboard can measure the match, but it cannot measure the meaning. This is Gamer Quotient / Gaming Academy. I don't know about you guys, but that song, that new intro song, Oliver fired up for us, was super sick. It is basically a remix of the intro song for the season, but kind of redone and re-edited with the basically customized lyrics for Gamer Quotient Gaming Academy. It was super cool, and I'm super appreciative of Oliver for doing that. Creative genius, in my opinion. But yes, tonight, guys. Hey, I am going to be here with Blazing Ace Nelson here pretty soon. I'll let him hear from the back room. But Nick and Oliver are taking the day off today. I mean, people are, and people do get tired. So hey, can't blame them for that. But yeah, welcome back, students, faculty, rank grinders, arcade veterans, stat trackers, achievement hunters, and leaderboard climbers, and also every gamer who has ever looked at a score screen and asked, is that really all I am? This is Gamer Quotient Gaming Academy, and the class is officially in session. All right, tonight's lesson is called The Scoreboard Doesn't Define You. And let's be clear, we're not here to say rankings do not matter. Leaderboards matter, high scores matter, rank ladders matter, stats matter, competition matters. For some players, that scoreboard is the reason they keep coming back. Now, it gives you a target, it gives you a rival, and it gives you a reason to practice, improve, tighten your execution, study the matchup, and run it back just one more time. Now, competition can sharpen us, right? But tonight we're asking the bigger question. When does the scoreboard help you grow, and when does it start defining your worth? Because a leaderboard can tell you where you rank, it cannot tell you what gaming means to you. It cannot measure your creativity, it cannot measure your patience, it cannot measure how you treat people. It cannot measure also how much joy you found. Also, it cannot measure the friend you helped and the community you built or the lesson you carried after the game was over. And this is where playing with intention comes in here at Gaming Academy. We do not just ask, did I win? We ask, did I improve? Did I learn? Did I compete with purpose? Did I enjoy the climb and the grind? Did I become a better version of the player I used to be? Right? We ask a lot of questions here. Tonight, we're going to be entering the boss room to talk about rankings, leaderboards, high scores, personal bests, and what actually makes someone a good gamer. And later, we'll face tonight's final boss called personal best, because the scoreboard can measure the match, but it cannot measure the meaning. All right, with that said, let's get everybody in here tonight, guys. Let's get Ace in here because he is the only one present. What's up, Ace?
What's good, everybody? Oh, excuse me.
Hey, Drecklin, thanks for the raid.
So, yeah, I mean, tonight, we're actually planning on keeping it pretty mellow, even with the topic we got planned here. But, just to make sure I properly introduce myself to folks, I'm Blazing Ace Nelson, a.k.a. the Professor of Applied Sciences here. Y'all know pretty much what I do at this point. I am the guy that helps explain not only how games work, but how they work with you, and vice versa. So, if you need tips and strategies, if you need someone who can keep their eye on what you can take with you in order to get better at your next attempt, come talk to me.
Ace is also, I would say, probably arguably the consumer, right? He goes he's been a customer of mine when I worked at the local game store. He's managed his own arcade, right? And also he basically just like, I would argue that you have a lot of experience, right? When it comes to purchasing and repurchasing games. So like you've been through it. And so this matters for a reason because you're on the other side of that counter, right? Well, I was on the other side of that counter. So it's a great perspective to have on Gaming Academy, right? Because
And
we want to be able to champion and represent.
And even with my even with the time that I spent with Nintendo as part of their customer support team, I was still basically tier one, so still like closer to the consumer side of the counter.
There you go. Yeah, and then you also, I don't think you mentioned it in your intro, but you also did what is that, support for Nintendo, right? You contract work for them.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay. And so he's definitely on the customer service side, but specifically on the Nintendo side, right? So Nintendo clients, Nintendo basically audience, right? Nintendo consumers. So like I guess to give us like 2 minutes, give us like what's it like? What do you think? What are Nintendo consumers like, Ace?
Well, honestly, like I've found that Nintendo consumers, while there are so many similarities to consumers of like other developers and publishers, there's so many, as a predominantly Sony consumer myself, which is going to be changing pretty soon.
Mhm.
I found that a lot of the concerns that I have with Sony, a lot of people tend to have with Nintendo. Just with Nintendo, it's definitely more specialized as far as dealing with certain hardware issues, like joystick drift, for example. Like
Yeah.
the big the big hardware launch that I was working with Nintendo for was actually for the OLED models, for the Nintendo
okay.
Switch OLED.
Yeah, the white model. Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. So
Yeah.
So part of it was not only helping people through troubleshooting and tech support with that, and also customer service,
Mhm.
but also part of it was getting information as far as because a lot of people are going to come in and they would ask, what's the difference between the systems? What's the OLED got that my regular Nintendo Switch, or let's say if they had a special edition like the Animal Crossing or or one of the Pokemon special editions, or the Zelda one. What's the difference in the hardware between that? So, I mean, while yes, part of it was angling towards making the sale, the major thing was really just providing the information so that way people could still make an informed decision.
So anyway, so in a way, you were kind of basically being the professor of applied sciences for Nintendo in a consumeristic fashion, right? So I get that, and see, and that's important. And the reason why I bring this up is because I think we need to be able to educate our consumers a little bit better than the media, than social media, than the internet. And the reason for that is because I think a lot of information out there is a little bit loaded, right? Because the reason why I say this is because when you're incentivized to say a particular thing to grab the algorithm, then are you really sharing information that you are sincerely meaning, or are you just trying to ride the wave so you get paid, right? It's been that way forever, not necessarily just YouTube or Facebook, but in our the way we operate as a society, you are going to be incentivized to act a specific way, given that you get the most audience capture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right?
That's correct.
So and I think a part of this of gamer quotient too is like I want everyone in the class, I want everyone in this academy to be a little bit wiser and consume with intention also. right? Because you don't know, even for me, I catch myself watching people that I like, and I go, wait a minute, you're kind of going a little bit overboard. You kind of conflict with what you said like a couple of months ago. Like, what's changed over time? Like, are you like, I know you got to pay the bills, but am I getting the real you, or am I getting the entertainment version of you? Right. So, and the reason why I bring this up is because, Oliver's been making a lot of content, and a lot of his content is what Oliver wants to make. Right.
Mhm.
And I've seen his ex posts, and I can see the frustration sometimes where, like, this is the stuff I make, but nobody's looking at it. Right. Because that's not what the algorithm's catching. That's not what people are consuming. Right.
Right.
And so I was kind of like, Oliver, you're right. Like, your content's actually really cool, but a lot of people are like, they want the slop. Like, that's what they're used to. That's what they want. Right. So I thought to myself, like, well, that's not what sells. So what sells is what people want. Right. And now if Oliver, and then I noticed Oliver started posting some fun stuff as well, because that's what people want. Right. So, and that's kind of where I kind of got into this conversation of media literacy and kind of like the consumption of media, right? So when it comes to video games, let's get to our MCC first. Let's talk about the picks that we have, right? And then we'll go back into this new topic that I kind of clipped for tonight's show, that I want to share. And Jagos is in the chat, and Andre is in the chat. I'd like them to participate in this as well if they can. But let's jump into this week in gaming history.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so if you've never been here before, awesome, welcome. This is the part of the show where we talk about this week in gaming history, Memory Card Chronicles. Basically, we talk about the variety of different things that we played throughout this week in gaming history, and Ace is going to lead us with his first choice for this week.
Yep. So again, since we're running kind of a skeleton crew tonight, we're gonna play a little fast and loose with it. But my pick for tonight and for this week released on August 19th. So we're talking, this is going to be tomorrow, almost 20 years ago now. So 2019. So let's try this again. In 2007. So 19 years ago tomorrow.
What were you doing in 2007?
Simple. I was, around this time in 2007, I was preparing to move to Bellingham.
Oh, dang, look at that. Let's go.
Because, that summer, that was when I came up and actually, came up to visit Duder while he was up here for a little bit.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I like the place. Came back that following week, and I'm like, let's set the plan in motion.
And you were in California, right?
Yep.
Man, that is a Memory Card Chronicle. There you go. Jeez, there's more story.
But over the course of that summer, I had picked up the special edition for Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
You got it. We'll pop it on the screen here. Boom. Let's go.
Now, like this, the special edition came out like 10 months after the initial release, but I picked this one up specifically because it had the DVD extras in it. I love when stuff like the greatest hits versions, or even just special pre-orders of stuff come out where you actually get more in the package than just the game.
Oh my god, dude. You're telling me. I remember going to GameStop, right? And I wanted to pre-order something, and they give you something for pre-ordering the game.
Right.
Like physical, a keychain, a poster. Oh, thanks for pre-ordering. Here you go. You're like, and now we're like, hey, get wrecked.
Man, I'm so mad that I lost it in the move. But when I went and pre-ordered Bayonetta from GameStop, that bad boy came with a straight up 12-month calendar.
I don't even remember that 12-month calendar. I gotta Google this. Hold on. Calendar.
Yeah, it came with a calendar, and hell, I remember this was back when Megan and Ryan were working at the Bellis Fair GameStop.
Yeah.
But shortly after, when they were like clearing out the stock room, they had a standee. No, they had a poster from a Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and yeah, it was a standee. It was a Ryu standee for Ultra Street Fighter 4. And they were just like, "Hey man, you want it?" Okay.
They love getting rid of that stuff because like they don't want to throw it away, right? So you just ask for it.
Home.
Yeah, chat. If you literally just, I don't know if you guys knew, but you can ask them like when they're done using it, can I have that? I'll come back and pick it up, and they usually say yes, right? So, fun for you. I can't find this calendar anywhere. It's lost in time, unfortunately. And hey, this is why it's important to do physical. Now we don't know if this artifact of time exists or not. There's no photos of it or anything. That's crazy.
There you go. But getting back onto the topic of the game itself, though, like still, Marvel Ultimate Alliance is still, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's estimation, one of the finest superhero games out there. Like, Ultimate Alliance is up there with the Arkham games. As far as just the quality that's provided with the title, but also how much people really enjoyed it.
It was pretty cool. Like this was the era, I think, when like Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance was out.
This right here is Ultimate Alliance 2.
No. Well, that's what I had on the screen here in a second. This was the era where Baldur's Gate was out, right? And then EverQuest, like those type of Diablo-ish games.
Mm-hmm.
And then and so like games like this were like really popular. X-Men Legends had one of these, right? If you remember, Sony had one called Dark Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, for the Marvel games, X-Men Legends was what kicked it off. It was X-Men Legends, then X-Men Legends 2, Age of Apocalypse, which was so freaking dope.
Right? Yeah, and it kept going. Like there was like I feel like there was like another one. There was a DC one too, I think.
Yeah, Justice League Heroes.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? Like when there's a trend, chat, there's a trend. So when we say here in Gaming Academy, we're like, God, there's so many battle royales. Well, that's the trend right now, right? So like every developer made the game like Ultimate Alliance back in the day, right? Because that was the trend. So like in every decade, there's usually a trend of type of game that gets made and people want to copy it until they beat it to the ground, basically. Now, the only difference, chat, is that back then we didn't have live service. So the trend goes away in a shorter amount of time, in my opinion, than now, because there's no support for these kind of games over a lengthy period of time, right? There's no updates or anything. So we're sticking to formulas longer than we are like moving on to the next thing. So just keep that in mind. So yeah. So any more like I guess like for Ultimate Alliance, like what was your first impression about it or anything that you'd like to share with chat?
Well, since I was already coming off of X-Men Legends and X-Men Legends 2, like when I sat down and started getting into Ultimate Alliance, I immediately fell in love with the game. I had a blast because number one, Wolverine was in it, so that's that was my through line from the X-Men Legends games, but also Spider-Man was on the starting roster.
Nope.
Same with Captain America and Iron Man. I'm like, this is my team. This is my crew.
It was super cool. I mean, I was just excited to have like characters. Like every game that has characters, I love characters, right? For me, I know I didn't really play this one, but I did catch on to 2 on the PS3, right?
Yeah, two was really good. 2 came out at the perfect time, I feel, because the Civil War event had like just wrapped up in the comics, basically.
And I think they started doing X-Men versus the Avengers too, but that could have been later as well.
Yeah, I think they were like just about to start doing AVX.
Yeah.
But the way that Ultimate Alliance 2 retold the Civil War storyline, for a lot of people, it felt like it fixed what was done in the comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's just, to me, like games like this is a different experience as they are now. Like, for example, you get what you pay for, right? You get what's there. Yeah. Maybe like because it's on a disc, right? First of all, And there's not really any updates, so they got to finish this game before it actually comes out. You know, so now games are more complicated, and I think like with the convenience keywords here, chat, the convenience of updates and being online, right? You can patch games, and they can release them early. They can fix it later, right? So, and I think this is the change in our culture when it comes to gaming as well. You know, and then an ad shows up like that, and earn and save with Vinted.
There you go.
Zero selling fees, chat. All right. But yeah, so like for this one was really cool. I just wanted to see like all the characters in this one. And this is why like in 2 on the PS3, like I think they had Juggernaut, right? Carnage, Magneto as like additional characters to download.
Yep.
And I was all about it. I was like, oh, Magneto? Oh, it's over. Like the game's over. Juggernaut? Come on. Like, you know, it's awesome. And the fact that
the Ultimate Alliance games technically, you know, since they, you know, with the time that they came out, they were also cross-gen games because, you know, you'd have, you know, ports of Ultimate Alliance on the PS2 and the PS3.
Yes.
Along with Ultimate Alliance 2. So it's like, you know, you've got these two games bridging the gap between generations, and you know, you could still get it on your current system, but then if you knew someone that had a 360 or a PS3, if they had Ultimate Alliance, that was more often than not the version that you wanted to try and play.
Yeah. This was probably the most exciting era of gaming for me, because like when you think about it, we're going from this like 2D, not 2D, but like you know, physical, no updates, you get the full game on a disc, and then now we're bridging over graphically also to like better graphics, smoother frame rates, right? Now we have marketplaces to download DLC, right? And so to me, it was the biggest jump. You know, like for PS4 to PS5, we're kind of just like, oh, it's just better graphics, really, right? Whatever. We already have all the services. But from PS2 to PS3, that was probably like, whoa, this is like the future. This is crazy. Like, this is amazing. You know?
Yeah, the PS2 to PS3 jump was about, I'd say it felt as drastic as the PS1 to PS2 jump.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. Yeah. Now, and I think
this was a legitimate jump in technology, like going from CD-ROM based media to DVD.
Yeah, I honestly think we peaked that during.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got for Ultimate Alliance thus far. I mean, it's just a solid title to play solo, or to, you know, if you had a multi-tap, get in there with some of your best mates and just do some ripping and running as your favorite superheroes.
But you got to address the elephant in the room. What does it say broadband only on there?
because because there was an online mode for Ultimate Alliance for the first one, where you had to get the broadband adapter to do online co-op,
which was like a crazy thing for a console to have at the time, by the way. Like the fact you have to buy a modem for it and then a hard drive, like that was Final Fantasy required a hard drive. So just think about that, chat. We take all these things for granted now, but back then, 2007, this is like premium luxury gaming, right? I'd say that. Okay. All right. So the next one here I will bring up.
While you're doing that, another great title that played like Ultimate Alliance was freaking Champions of Norath.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Return to Arms also. Yep. That was a good one. What was so that was like because Baldur's Gate had released their own Dark Alliance, and then EverQuest, Champions of Norath made their own version of that as well. Okay. So my pick for this week is on the day of my daughter's birthday. Just kidding. It was August 21st, 1997 in Japan. I would argue that majority of the people here in the United States have no idea who this character I'm about to put on the screen here, right? But I would argue now he's probably one of the most well-known characters in the world. So on August 21st, 1997, Dragon Ball GT Final Bout came out on the PlayStation. Okay. You had something to say there, Ace?
Dragon Ball GT, the Final Bout, was actually one of the first PlayStation games that I emulated.
Okay, all right.
The moment that I downloaded Gleam in the computer lab, Dragon Ball GT was the first game I looked up. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
I need to dig this up.
So, Chad, this game was incredibly difficult to find. No one had a copy of this game. No one knew what it was. No one cared what it was, right? Only the select few weebs knew what this was because they had experienced anime from like their older cousins or whatever, and that have that are cultured and came and brought it to America and was like, this is Dragon Ball Z, check it out. Now, we didn't know what Dragon Ball GT was. We were like, what the hell is GT? I know Z, but GT? What the heck is that? So I have some five facts about Dragon Ball GT Final Bout on the PlayStation. Okay, so as you're enjoying this exhilarating gameplay, let me go ahead and read off these 5 fun facts. All right, number 1, it was the first officially University of Phoenix no tuition game. It was the first officially released Dragon Ball game in North America. Crazy, right? Crazy. Yeah. Of Dragon Ball GT Final Bout released for PlayStation in North America in 1997, years before Dragon Ball Z Budokai helped relaunch Dragon Ball games on consoles in the West. That's insane, right? And this game sucked. I'm not gonna lie, this game was not good. The Super Nintendo Famicom games were way better, but one could argue this was a marvel of wonder when it was first released. So the title was different depending on the region. In Japan and Europe, the game was known as Dragon Ball GT Final Bout, but in the North American version, GT was added to the title, making it Dragon Ball GT Final Bout. Interesting. Number 3, it came out in America before most fans really knew what GT was. The game launched in North America in 1997, but Dragon Ball GT anime would not arrive in the US until years later. So for many players, characters like Pan, Baby, Super Saiyan 4, Goku felt mysterious and confusing at the time. Can you imagine that? Playing a game, you're like, who are these characters? I've never seen them on the show.
In fact,
number 4.
In fact, that was my exact reaction. Like, who's all these people?
Yeah, I thought they were just like other Saiyans, right? But I didn't know how they were related. And also, I was like, why is Trunks all goofy in this one? Because like that Vegeta is cool, right? And then that's the Trunks I'm used to. That's those Trunks, not the regular Trunks. All right. Number 4, Super Saiyan 4 Goku was hidden behind a cheat unlock method. Remember that, chat? Codes and stuff? One of the biggest reasons people remember the game is because Super Saiyan 4 Goku was playable. He was also really, really busted in the game, from what I remember. But he had to be unlocked through special conditions or cheat commands, depending on the version. And the last one, the original PS1 release became a collector's item, which I do have a copy over here. Fantastic. Before later being re-released, right? Before later re-released in North American version became rare and expensive in the secondhand market, with older reports of noting that it once commanded high collector prices. So the thing you're seeing on the screen here, the artwork, this was the original, right? And then later it got a reprint because it was so rare and like nobody played it, and then people got wind of it, and then later on people are kind of wanting to pick it up. This is the newer artwork that came out later on, right? So there's your comparison right there. So it's definitely much louder than the other one, but that's how you can tell when you have a reprint version or an original version. Okay. So and I think honestly, even though they say this one is not as much of a collector item, it is as a collector item as GT, because like, this is like, think about where you can see this game. Not really anywhere. So I would pick it up and just have it in your collection. Even if it's like $5, I would just take it. If he has the case, the manual, right? All that good stuff. So, One of the coolest things about GT was the actual disc art. And let's see if I can pull this up on the screen here. So that the Gohan artwork was really cool on the GT. It was a blue disc, so that was really cool. And then I think the jewel case behind it also had, yeah, they had that. So this lethal weapon slipped through customs. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is crazy.
What y'all doing?
You know, but think about it this way, chat. Dragon Ball GT had to fail. Now you have Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which is like a complete like Dragon Ball experience, right? We have Dragon Ball Fighters. Like, this had to be released, this had to fail, and we had to come back and go at it again. And Budokai was pretty good. Then they got Budokai Tenkaichi, right? Dude. So the lesson here, guys, and what I'm trying to say is that, whenever you think of like, man, I failed and I did not succeed, don't give up. Try it again. Maybe what you're doing right now is not working for you because of the time, because of the moment, but it doesn't mean you're not going to succeed at a different time, right? So, and this is pretty big, because I think Dragon Ball, if we had given up on Dragon Ball as a culture, we wouldn't have had all the cool games we had now.
There would be a lot we'd be missing out on if we'd given up on Dragon Ball as a culture.
Oh yeah, I think so. Dragon Ball affects a lot of people. Like, I mean, how many kids did you see do the Kamehameha motion? Like, yeah, see, or the power up. Like, come on, man. It's like we have we got a bunch of people doing that. I remember going to my buddy's house in high school, and he has two little brothers, and they were always going like this to each other. And I was like, I know what that means. Like, I don't have to know what you're doing or saying. I just know what that means. That's fantastic. I love it.
I mean, heck, I'll be real with you. I don't think we would have X-Men versus Street Fighter without Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah, I would say that game, Dragon Ball, heavily influenced X-Men versus Street Fighter with the Ryu and Ken Fireball Super. So yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, anything I guess anything else to add on Dragon Ball GT?
Well, apparently Andre just posted in a chat a little while ago, but apparently Steve Bloom he actually voiced Goku in GT in the game at least.
Yeah, it was weird, but we didn't really know who Steve Bloom was. Like, when you're a kid, you don't know voice actor names. You're just like, that's Spike's voice, or that's Wolverine's voice. Like, that's kind of how you do that. So, but yeah, it's very interesting. I just know that, like, it was just ahead of its time. Like, and it didn't help really that we didn't know who the hell the characters were. Right, because we relate to the characters. This is why we want to pick them. This is why we want them in fighting games. Like, we never find a character we hate and we go, yeah, let's put them in a fighting game. Like, they just don't do that. We gotta do favorites and people and fans. Pick the roster, in my opinion. So, okay, well, that's it. That's pretty short for this week in gaming history, and that's about it from Memory Card Chronicles. Alrighty, so buckle up, folks. We're here to schwack at each other. Now, it's actually more just on the idea of the gaming industry right now, where things we're at. And it's funny that you bring up Wolverine, because Wolverine's about to come out next month here, and I just finished playing Miles Morales, so it's kind of on the mind, right? And there's been a video that's been kind of floating around social media that shows the exhilarating gameplay of Wolverine. So I'll put it up here in the screen to see what's going on. What you guys see what I'm talking about, right? So let's see here. Hey, before I put this up, do you know what I'm talking about?
I've seen a couple of clips. I think I know which one you're talking.
Okay, so this goes along the side of media literacy, right, and consumption of media. I'm pretty big on this because like I would argue that during the COVID era, there was a lot of bullshit on the internet, right? And you had to really be really careful what to believe and what not to believe because you were stuck at home, right? And you had no other way to get the news or information that you would have. So media literacy to me has been very important, and I'm very passionate about it. So when we see a clip of something, we're only seeing a portion of it, good or bad, disagree or agree with it. I still think context needs to be, be transparent with context, right? So this right here is the video. I said video I was talking about. It's just him holding up. Even the cat doesn't like
Yeah, the cat. Oddly enough, the cat was on my end.
it. All right. So this clip is going crazy. Can I play this? Can I put this on loop? Oh, probably not. Oh yeah, I can. Maybe. Nope, not. All right. So this clip is going on loop, right? And so the context here is that, hey, you have all this money and this is all I'm doing in the game, right? I'm just holding up and nothing's exciting, right? So doing a little bit of digging, and it's funny because the night before I saw this clip, I actually watched the dev talk about this game, like actually jumping. I'm not like half-assing it. I watched the dev talk and kind of like what their vision was. I even watched Max's video on it, right? And to me, I think Max is like Mr. Toxic Positivity, right? Because Max is part of the world where he'll review a game that he likes, but if he doesn't like a game, what he does is he won't review it so he doesn't sound bad. He'll just ignore it, right? So that's historically that's Max. I have nothing against Max, but that's what he does, right? So in a way, if you don't know that, you think that he likes everything that you see on his channel, which he usually does, right? But the stuff that gets put on his plate where they're like, when he's like, no, I'm not really a fan of this, he won't even play it because he's not a fan of it, which I totally respect, right? So this scene right here is basically a clip of the tutorial, literally like the beginning of the game. Like you land, there's a cutscene, and a lot of it is like think of it as a rail shooter almost, right? It's like you go from point A to point B, you run up, and then the tutorial goes, fight these guys, push these buttons, you do it again, fight these guys, push these buttons with new instructions, and this is the very end of it, right? So if I can find the whole clip for you of the intro, I will. So, but I kind of want to hear kind of like your thoughts on like, because we're gonna dive into what actually is happening. But when stuff like this occurs, and like, do you have any experience with it, and what are your thoughts on it? While I look for this clip.
Like, as far as seeing, a clip like this, like, while yes, it does kind of, well, on first blush, it kind of puts a bit of a negative taste in my mouth because it feels like, especially, going between what's on the screen and, what's going on the controller. Shush, cat.
Hey, cat's allowed to be on the podcast.
Oh, it looks very cinematic to me, and it's like it's not a bad thing, but I want to see more of the context surrounding it. Like if that's part of the tutorial, okay, what does the rest of the tutorial do? But from everything else that I have seen of the gameplay thus far, a lot of it just makes me, look at it and go, I can see the DNA of like Spider-Man 2, and Miles Morales in a lot of what's going on with Wolverine. And it's not a bad thing that, they're taking what works and going with it. But at the same time, I would like to, I want to see what makes this fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is because we're limited to a clip, right? And this is what I mean. Like you're asking something totally different that a clip wouldn't deliver, right? and you probably would have to look for it if you have no interest in the game, right? So what you're doing is you're just being presented with information, what people are clicking on, right? So what you're watching right now is three guys that have played this game, and this is literally the beginning of the game. You press start, he jumps off the helicopter or whatever it is, right, and lands. So this is the tutorial. He's wearing the same costume as you can see,
and this
right?
And this right here, this takes me back to X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Right.
Yeah, it takes me back to the the PS2 and PS3 game where again he starts it off free diving from the helicopter. I'm like, okay, classic Wolverine incursion opening.
Yep, falling down.
Let's see where this goes from here.
So, by the way, when I watched this video, right, like this part right here, when you press L2 and R2 to unsheath his claws, right, the guys that were literally saying it does nothing. You can sheath and unsheath your claws for visual effect. that it doesn't do anything, right? So cool, right? But like kind of a weird thing that it's kind of cool to do, but it doesn't really function any different in the game, right? Because apparently, and here it is. See the clip? So this is the first part. So this is what I'm saying. Like, and then the reason why I bring this up is because I think that person, and then if you look at that thread on X, people were really complaining about like, dude, what the hell? Like, this game sucks. And like, you're not watching the full game. You're literally just watching like 10 seconds of it with no context whatsoever, right? And there's been other clips floating around on the internet for Wolverine. It's been talked about recently, like heavily, right? And honestly, I have no idea why. And I think it's because it stemmed from like the character designs. Like, first it started with Jean Grey not looking like the way they wanted Jean Grey. And I can totally like agree with some of that, but when you start complaining about the gameplay, I think that's a whole different category. Like we need to jump into, right? The way the game looks, we've been through Marvel Infinite, Ace. Like, the way a game looks versus the way a game plays are two different things, right? Infinite plays awesome, looks like hot garbage, unfortunately. Right,
like Infinite play is awesome, but if you want to tolerate watching, like if you want to tolerate seeing it on your screen as you play it, mod it.
Yeah, and that's what the gamers did, and I love that, right? And I think like when it comes to stuff like that, don't buy it full price. Wait for it's on a discount, and then mod the shit out of it to the way you want to play it. Right? I love that, and we have communities for that. Right? We don't want to support the launch. We want to support we do want to support the game, but after the 90 days I talk about, the 90 days is where they really gauge if the game succeeds or not. Right? I don't know if any chat remembers this. The first 90 days are important to a video game. That's where they determine if it fails or not. So buy it after 90 days and on sale, hopefully. And then that's when you can support the game without having to influence the numbers that they're looking for. Right? So that's buying with intention over here. Okay. So one of the things I learned about Wolverine is that it's not an open world game like Spider-Man. You don't have access to this big ass city, right? It's actually just like X-Men, X2 Wolverine's Revenge, whatever that one was. That one that we played? X2, right?
No, it was Origins.
X-Men Origins, right? That's the one. It's just like that. You go to point A to point B, you fight guys on the way, right? You get a boss fight, but this one is just the cameras behind you. And one of the arguments in game design, and people are kind of wary about, is when you usually have a camera behind you, like the way Wolverine is like this, they're kind of concerned your character doesn't move as fast because like think of like Leon or Kratos, Dominic, Dom from Gears of War. They're not the most agile, right? But we have to remember these guys made Spider-Man. They didn't make those games. So the people that are like concerned, like, oh, is he going to be just like a lumbering idiot? Like he's not going to have the same agility as Spider-Man? No, he's not Spider-Man, right? The change that the devs were talking about and the guys that played this game, they're saying like the big difference between this and Spider-Man is not the spectacle of you flipping around, dipping around everywhere, swinging around, right? It's you being able to like walk up to a guy that's shooting you with a machine gun and taking the hits and then going, boing, I'm right in his face. and then dragging him to a wall. That's not what Spider-Man does, right? Spider-Man will have to like dodge, flip to get and hit that guy. Wolverine will take the hits and just like power through it.
Yep.
That's like you can't really compare this to Spider-Man. Yes, they made Spider-Man, right? But like it's Wolverine. And then it's gonna go to my next topic. Like I know, like I watched a clip on with Legendary Drops, and I actually like this guy. I like his videos. Like he does a lot of good insight on a lot of stuff, right? But his recent one really rubbed me the wrong way. And nothing on this dude, right? But he was basically saying, oh, like we have the right to complain about a game that we haven't played yet because of the way it looks and the way and I'm going to be fair here. I'm not going to be biased in the way they've treated us in the past. Totally get it. I totally get it. Right. And that's his recent video on YouTube that showed up on my algorithm this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that is not a good information to be sharing with your community. Right. And I wanted to get your input. I want to get chat's input on this of like prejudging a game before, you play it. Yes, there's impressions. I have not played Wolverine. I don't know how it feels, but there have been some games where I've played where I'm like, I did not expect this to play this way, but because the way it was conveyed to me on video is not the same. Now, I want to know if you've experienced games like that, and what games they were, and how did you process through all?
Well, for first game that comes to mind was Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Like, I was not the hugest fan of, how the game looked, largely because it looked like it was just it looked like it was trying to hedge its bets between it was like half MCU, half comics. Same with Marvel's Avengers. But then actually sitting down and playing the games, it's like, okay, I can definitely see the vision here. But I think my main issue as far as prejudging a game before you get the chance to sit down and play it, my main issue is the fact that, let's say you see a game and you don't really like the way it's looking, and you have that not so favorable opinion on it. Then you've got the people coming out of the woodwork basically making value judgments on your character and insulting your intelligence in order to try and defend this game. And it's like, dog, I don't like how this looks. I don't like what I'm seeing of the gameplay. That's it, the end. You don't have to come out and all of a sudden, start trying to bury me in socio-political BS that is very much not germane to the conversation at hand. And that right there is where I think Legendary Drops is actually, that I think is the point that he was getting across with that. It's like, we can look at this game and say, it's a bit of a disappointment. And people are going to come out and defend Insomniac, like saying, but they made Spider-Man. And it's like, yeah, but here's the thing. Every other developer, every other publisher that has disappointed people over the past few years, that disappointment stems from the track record and the goodwill that they previously had. So, I mean, that's just, I always say, people eat with their eyes. More often than not, people are going to go into something, people are going to go into something with a little bit of prejudice just based on what they see on the cover. That's just human nature. But if they see something and they don't like it, you know, you don't all of a sudden jump off the deep end and go, oh, then you must hate, you know, X group, or oh, you must hate this if you don't like this one. It's like, dog, you're free to like it. I'm free to dislike it. If I decide to pick up the game later and I'm proven wrong, so much the better. And more often than not, those of us that see the gameplay and are like, I don't know about this, we want to be proven wrong. We want the game to do well. We want it to be good.
Yeah. I would argue that there's a repercussion for that kind of action, because, like, for example, I'm just kind of showing you Phantom Blade Zero.
Mhm.
The first impression of this game is like, holy crap, how is this a video game? This is not even like the old trailer. I was trying to find one of the first ones where he's like 1v1ing this guy, and it just looked like wuxia, right? It wasn't even like it felt like there was not even a person playing of the way the characters were kind of interacting with each other.
Mhm.
It just looked really cool, and if I can find it, it'd be great. But the other portion I'm trying to like kind of share here with you, the flip side of this. Think of the first. Actually, I'll just bring it up. Let's see if I can find it. Think of the first clips of the new Virtual Fighter, right? What is it, Virtual Fighter 6?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Crossroads.
No. I'm not even gonna look at that. I'm talking about
the
first.
the early stuff.
Yeah, and this is what I'm
Before
trying
it
to.
was Crossroads.
This is what I'm trying to explain to you guys. It works both ways, right? Imagine if you see this, and this is the game right here, right? This is alpha. This is not even like, there's not even a concept of this game yet. They're just showing you a display of what it could be, right? And there's one before this, the one where it's Akira fighting the other. But the choreographic nature of that first video, the teaser, right?
Mhm.
If that's what you expect from the final product, because you're judging a game before you play it, then you're in deep trouble. It goes both ways. And this is what I'm trying to, and this is why I'm trying to like make sure like we educate our community on this stuff, right? You cannot just have it one way or the other. It has
Right.
to go both ways, right? So the Virtual Fighter one that I'm trying to find is the first. Maybe it's like, what is it, Virtual Fighter early? Right. Well, yeah, this one, official concept, right?
Right.
And
it
yeah, go
also
ahead.
it also helps if it also helps as far as the reception of the game. It also helps if there's disclosure.
Yeah. But here's what I'm getting at. The average person that consumes this media is not us. We're smarter than that. And so when I see my community showing me clips that I'm like, no, you're smarter than this, that angers the headmaster, right? Because we're supposed, as leaders here in the gaming community, we need to represent exactly what we want to see in our gaming. And I totally agree with you guys on like, these companies need to learn. Like, I totally agree with you guys. 100%. Matter of fact, I've said multiple times on the show, I think the game industry needs to be burned down.
Yeah.
I say the industry needs to be burnt down, need to start over. Screw investors. I'm an investor. I say screw me, right? Let's go indie, right? Let's go with games that are good, because the investors is what's controlling the game's direction, because they're going for optimization, right? And I argued in the past with people like, are video games an art? Before they were like, no, they were like, yes. I say yes. You know why? Because there's a rule in art. There's a rule in art that says if you add money to art and there's a demand for art, and then more and more people start consuming it, they're gonna want art a specific way. And that specific way is not typically it's gonna resonate with you when you're the minority. And chat, you guys are the minority. Right? Because you guys may be loud, and I echo this, you guys, all the time. You guys may be loud about your opinions and thoughts about what they're doing. But I gotta tell you, the data doesn't support that, because they say, and Ace, I know, I see your posts on Twitter, and that's great. What I'm trying to say is that corporation doesn't see Ace's post. It's social media manager that goes, man, this guy's really upset, right? And they probably would go to the boss and go, man, they're not liking you guys right now, right? And the heads up goes, yeah, but their data says they buy more digital games than physical games. So that guy that's complaining, there's only one of them over 100, right? That's what's happening, and I want you guys to understand that. So your focused rage can be channeled somewhere else and be more productive, in my opinion, right? And the fact that Ace is showing you other games on the stream, like these free-to-play fan games, I love that, because you don't have to pay for the shit they put out, right? What I'm trying to tell you guys is I don't have any beef with anybody. I don't. I just want you guys to be smarter, and I want you guys to take your gaming and your hobby in a direction that resonates with your principles, right? And I think Ace does a good job of that. Okay, so with stuff like this, what I'm trying to say on the screen here is that if this is what they sold me from day one, I want to play this game. If I get anything different than this, what I'm seeing on the screen, I'll be pissed. Right? The same way it works with Wolverine. What you get on the screen, maybe not what you like, but maybe when you play it, you're like, actually, this is pretty cool. What I saw is not exactly what the good representation of the game, right? But I think there's also like we have predisposed biases in things in the way we make decisions. And two, we tend to kind of, we're social creatures, so we tend to go with the wave, right? The trends. It's cool to hate on video game companies, but there is reason for that. I'm not saying there is no reason for that as well, right? But I think the outrage that we express on hating a company, we should take that energy, because we have very limited of it, and just praise the ones that are doing a good job instead. Make those guys louder.
Exactly. Right? And that's part of the big reason why I do the community spotlight streams in the first place, because it's like, we've been let down by the larger developers and publishers before.
Oh yeah.
So let me show you all something cool. It's one thing to get ticked off about something and then just get that anger out. But let's refocus that energy into something more positive. Not the toxic positivity, not just constantly praising stuff and not criticizing anything in order to not put out anything negative at all. So much as just, instead of just saying I want this and shouting it at people, let's go ahead and actually put our attention on the stuff that we actually want. Vote with your feet, vote with your wallet, vote with your time. Hence, playing with intention.
You got it. And this is what we're always trying to share with you guys on the channel. Like, just back up what you're trying to your principles in gaming, because that will reflect on the industry, right? We have fed the gaming industry enough, right? We don't need to feed it anymore, is what I'm saying. The numbers that they show us are real numbers, but here's the thing. The smart gamers like this community we have here at Gamer Quotient Gaming Academy is a minority in the bigger picture of things. Wolverine may not be for this community, right? Because we know better. That's how it works, right? But the guys that are comic book fans that own PlayStation 5s, they don't give a shit about what we think. They're just going to play because it's Wolverine, right? Jago's brought this up. Great. He's not a big fan of Wolverine, because Jagos understands that Wolverine is a cash cow for Marvel. They put Wolverine in anything, people buy it because he's Wolverine.
Yep.
Right? I understand that when he said that to me. And I go, and that's probably why they chose Wolverine for the next Insomniac game. Right? It wasn't Daredevil, because I thought Daredevil would have been cool, right? Oh. It wasn't the Punisher. It wasn't like some low level like Luke Cage. Like I think Luke Cage would be a cool character to play, in a video game, but they chose Wolverine because everybody knows Wolverine, right? So, and that's what I'm talking about. So I want to pull up gameplay here for a game that I think we got bamboozled with because we did not see enough gameplay on its announcement. And all we got were stupid trailers, cinematic trailers that, kind of confused everyone because they weren't being transparent.
So you're talking Marvel's Avengers?
Oh, yep. You got it. You got it. See that?
Called it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and once again, chat, this is another example of you cannot judge a book by its cover because, matter of fact, this book didn't really have a cover for us to judge, right? We got stuff like this on like clips and teasers and stuff like that. So we're like, oh, so it's like a contextual action, maybe action game, like God of War, right? God of War is like very similar to this, right? But then ultimately, once we're done with the game, it basically turned to Marvel Ultimate Alliance, right? With extra steps. How come they didn't tell us that part? Right? How come they hid that part from us? Because I thought multiplayer for this game was just going to be 4 players playing the campaign together, and you beat it, you're done, right?
Right.
And that's a scary image right there. And then we don't. And then but when you finish the game, it opens up the game for like upgrades and character customization. Where was that in the beginning? I don't remember hearing about any of that. Right? They just focused more on the story. So what happened? Gamers didn't. They took the media seriously. They're like, all right, if that's all it is, then I don't know if I want to pay for this. Right? Day one. Remember, the game has 90 days to succeed. If people don't buy it in the first 90 days, it's a failure. And I think this is what happened with Marvel's Avengers. And I'm going to be honest, chat, I'm one of the people that bought it 90 days afterwards because I wasn't sure if there was anything more to the game than just cinematics. I didn't know how it was going to be played, right? That's just me. Ace, what was your experience with this game when you were like kind of peeking at it and when it first got released and announced?
Well, I wound up actually getting it on. I wound up getting it pretty close to. No, I think I actually got it on day one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I picked it up on day one, but what I saw of it, because I was fortunate enough that I was able to find more information about, how the gameplay was actually going to go. And when they started talking about, the different abilities that each of the characters had, that was where I kind of caught a little glimpse of, okay, this may be, something close to, it might be like, Ultimate Alliance, but with more of a, more of that deliberate sort of God of War pacing to it.
Yeah.
And I started to really dig what I saw. And then, seeing how you were like switching between characters during this, opening set piece right here, going from Thor to Iron Man to, Hulk to Black Widow for the boss fight with Taskmaster. I thought if you were going to be playing this game solo, then you would have your team of 4 or what have you, and you'd be able to switch between them.
Okay, that's fair. I actually think that's a legit mechanic. Like, if you're all 4 of you are playing, you can switch on the fly, right? I think that's
right. Like if you're playing solo, or if you're playing with fewer than 4 characters, then whoever's hosting the session should be able to switch between, the character they chose and the remaining slot that's available.
You know what other game?
Like that.
You know what other game that does that? You switch your character on the fly? Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Yep.
Literally, you pick your squad and you can choose between 4 of them. So, and this is what I mean. Like, if they would have if we had Gaming Academy staff at those marketing, like talking to the gamers and not stupid journalists, right? Because journalists don't care. They don't understand how things work. They just go, oh yeah, this does this, and they whatever, right? I don't honestly have no idea what's going on in their brains when they rate these games. But Imagine if we were gamers, we're fans of this game. Like we want it to be good, we want it to be fun. We're sitting in the crowd and talking to the marketing team, and the marketing team goes, "For you guys that love Marvel Ultimate Alliance, you'll be really comfortable with this game." We would know exactly what they're talking about.
Like, go on.
Exactly. You got us hooked, right? Did we hear that even one time in the whole marketing thing? No, we're like, oh, the story starts Kamala, and you're gonna be doing like, okay, well, let's can we just play the game and to learn that part?
And honestly, like at the time they even announced that that Kamala was going to be like the lead in the story, she was getting a bit of a bad rap in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
So, them wanting to start with Kamala, they in a way they buried the lead with a controversial character.
Yeah, exactly. And there was so much nitpicking. Sorry, go ahead.
And it wasn't until we like actually got into the game, played the story. It's like, okay, we start that opening set piece with all of our established characters, and then we go to Kamala, who's like the viewpoint character for the story. And it's like, okay, we're finally getting to see some of the substance here. But what's again, you mentioned that Kamala is going to be the lead character, and people are like, we're not too sure about Kamala. And immediately the first thing a lot of people said, in trying to like just come to this game's staunch defense was, oh, you don't like Kamala? Then that must mean, oh, here we go. And we get into socio-political non sequiturs and straw men when it's just like, I didn't like her. It's like, I didn't like her in the comics. I'm not really sure I want to see her when we've got Black Widow and the freaking Hulk right there.
Yeah. It's like, like what do I always say? They kind of force these new characters, they shoehorn them in to like, you got to stare at this character for the next 4 hours for you to get to the character you like. Right. And that's what Ace is exactly talking about. Like that was a choice, right? Because before this game, I had no idea who Kamala was. I was like, who is this person, right? And why is she so important? You know what I'm saying? Like that's who me, casual Marvel guy, right? So, by the way, community chat, if you guys want to do a 4-player night on Avengers, it has cross-play, right? And if you guys want to play it, I'm down. You don't even understand. I got it right here. I'm ready to lock and load. I'm just not talking out of my ass. It's right here. And don't worry, I'll uninstall Miles Morales. I'll put. Matter of fact, Sinners and I were defending Super Earth the other day. You guys knew that. He was hanging out with the headmaster. I was giving him rides all across specific planets.
Nice.
Right? Yeah, he doesn't. He's a little green. I can tell. He's a little level 55. It's okay. Super Earth needs you. So, and then that's what I mean. Like we need to be playing games together more. But yeah, going back to the topic here, I guess what are your kind of final statements on this topic and kind of controversy of media literacy and how things are presented to us?
Honestly, it's one of those things where I say, it's inevitable that you're going to judge something. It's inevitable that you're going to have an opinion at first blush when you see something. That's just, let's just get that out of the way right now. But what I can also say is this: always keep an eye out for context. Remember this equation, class, since we are in school. Remember this equation, because this right here is going to serve you well. The equation for truth in any given situation. Truth equals facts plus context over time. You got, like, when you see something when you see something at first blush, you're not going to have the truth of it right off the bat. You're not necessarily going to have the context right off the bat. So it's up to you to go out there, gather the facts, gather the facts, take a look at the context. Keep that in mind. Look for more context if need be. And then, as you start learning more about, the game, or as you start learning more, and again, you don't necessarily need to, invest your money into it. You don't need to buy the game in order to, at the very least, have an opinion on it. But give yourself some time to look into it more. You'll get more of the facts on the ground. Boom. That right there, the immutable in that equation is going to be the facts on the ground. You'll be able to get more of the context. Is that clip from this section of the game or this part of the game? Is this a work in progress? Is it all fully rendered? What's the deal? And then, of course, there's the time. Is this pre-release? Is this a marketing lead-up? How long has it been since this has been announced? It could be how long something has gone on, or it could be a specific point in time. But you've got your variables, your context, your time. Truth itself is a variable because it's all the truth of any given situation is all going to be based on the facts on the ground, plus the context surrounding those static facts over the time it's taking place or the time it's taking place in. And there you have it.
I would argue that like my first go-to when I see something I don't agree with, right? Or if I have an opposite stance of something, is to find the thing that supports the thing that I don't like. You see that? What I'm getting at is like, instead of trying to prove that you're right, go prove that they're not right or they're wrong by showing them their own things. So what I mean by this is I actively look for things that disagree with my opinion on it. Because you know why? Nobody wants to do searches like that. Like, let's be real.
Research.
Yeah. Nobody wants to do, why am I wrong? Right? Nobody wants to look that up. But that is exactly how you need to make sure you're not correct or you're not wrong either. Right? You have to go beyond. You have to have the courage to do that. And I think right now with the algorithms they have set up, and trust me, chat, I fight with algorithms all the time. Ace, I just gave you some X tips before we went live today, right? Of things I found out while doing my research, right? And I've been doing it wrong too. Like I'm here to say, hey, I'm not perfect, right? And it can be as simple as putting a link on a post. That's all it is, right? So now I'm going to change that. I'm going to correct it so we can adhere to the algorithm so more people can see gamer quotient. Now think about what I just said. I have to change the way I act for me to get more popular. You see that? Because that's what makes money for people. Now earlier, I like I said, I watched that video with Legendary Drops, and he's lecturing us about ABCD. Then he goes, "This video is brought to you by Radon," and I was like, "What the hell?" Like that could just be bad timing, but brother, have some sense. But here's the thing: if you're a fan, you're not gonna care. That's the issue. You're just gonna eat it. You're gonna consume it. You're gonna go, "He's right. He's 100%. I agree. He agrees with me. I agree with him." Right? That's not the way to work and to get information these days. Right? I agree with him. I would say 90% of the time. He represents exactly what I feel like. But the way you went about it, and he went about it in that last video, it just put a bad taste in my mouth because I was like, "Wait a minute, dude. Like, are you saying for me to believe you in this way, then you're gonna drop an ad on me? That's crazy." And it wasn't like his stuff; it was a sponsored ad. Do you know what that means, guys? They paid him to make a video for that. That's what sponsorship means. If you guys didn't know that, your content is catered by who's giving him money. What was the guy that does this? I can't remember his name. But yeah, that guy, by the way, that guy is in a video game now, and he was like an internet sensation during 2020. It's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I mean. So like, even Max, I have grown up with Max. I think Max is great for the community, but sometimes the way he like his decision making and his like preferences irritate the shit out of me. Right. But then because we don't get along on specific things, like I'll tell you right there, and we'll move on to the next topic. Max only likes X-Men Jim Lee designs. So he'll just brush off any other designs of a character. He's so biased about X-Men Jim Lee designs that he'll just go, yeah, it's cool, but I would like Cyclops Jim Lee better. Like,
that's like, come on, dude.
Yeah, it's like, dude, focus on the design you see in front of you and go, is this a good design or a bad design? Not what you want. I get it, it's his channel, but how can I believe somebody and be objective about what he like and what he's saying when it's only what he wants me to hear from what he wants? Right? It's not education at this point. It's just entertainment. And I think this is where we differ in Gamer Quotient, is we're objective about it. I think I've gathered a diverse amount of brains and personalities in this space, and I think that's what makes us different from everybody else. Okay. So tell that next time somebody says, "Hey man, do you have any good podcasts to watch about gaming? I love gaming." And you say, "Hey, I know a podcast. I know some morons that gather on Tuesdays to talk about games, but objectively, because they all come from different portions of gaming, right? So whatever I believe, Nick doesn't agree with sometimes, and that's totally cool. That's why we're here together. All right. So with that said, we're gonna go into the boss room for tonight. Bonus points to anyone that knows what that little jingle is.
I was about to say that is the perfect intro stinger for the boss room.
Right? I had that pocketed for a long time. I just never used it. So extra credit to those in chat. All right. Whoever has the first correct answer in chat will get extra credit from the headmaster specifically. Okay. All right. The boss room is where the faculty enters the main topic of the episode. This is the deeper discussion, the main event, you can say, right? The part of the show where we stop circling around the dungeon and step into the room with the big health bar. For each episode, the boss room focuses on the core lesson of the night and gives you the panel space to challenge each other, tell stories, debate examples, and connect gaming to life itself. All right. You got any answers on there, Ace?
Oh, as far as
the jingle? I'll play it again.
Oh no, I know what the jingle is.
I know. I want chat to answer. I know you know.
Let's see. No, that's not MVC3.
But
Jago's with the bullseye.
Which one though? Which one? Specific game, Jagos. I know you know. All our chat is smart, but this is why I want them to know which specific game has this exact jingle. It's one that's kind of right, but not at this quality. That does not sound like an NES game. All right, don't gaslight me.
It's like that doesn't sound like an NES game. That's how I remember it sounding when I played it for the first time.
All right, guys. So this is the boss room tonight. We're gonna take on the main topic, locked doors. Because here we go. Tonight's topic is the scoreboard does not define you. And let me see if I can pull up that art here because it's actually pretty cool art in my opinion. Let's see. And boom. It was our art for today's thumbnail. The scoreboard does not define you. So let's be clear. Rankings matter, leaderboards matter, etc., right? Give us something to chase. They give competitive players a reason to sharpen their skills. But the question for tonight is, do rankings make you a good gamer, or do they only show one part of how you play? Now, I know a majority of you guys will answer this properly, because I feel like our community, I understand our community, but I want to know, right? Because a leaderboard can tell you who scored the most points. It cannot tell you who taught a new player. It cannot tell you who made the lobby better. It cannot tell you who showed patience, creativity, teamwork, leadership, or the love of the game. So tonight, we're going to ask the faculty, when does competition help us grow? And when does the scoreboard start playing with us? This is the boss room. All right. First question, Ace. All right, ready?
Go ahead.
What does a leaderboard actually prove, and what does it fail to understand about the player?
From where I'm sitting, as far as what a leaderboard proves, I mean, I feel like the leaderboard is more or less a showcase of, literally just, who got the most points, who ticked the most boxes, who got the most, like if this was a pop quiz, who got the most questions correct. It's static numbers, it's statistics. It doesn't always show, a particular player's growth, except for, let's say if you know that you started at a certain position on the leaderboard, and then you see that you're moving up the scoreboard, that could be an indicator of how much you're growing, as far as just, again, doing what you can to actually raise that score. It shows that you are growing, but it doesn't show the growth itself. It fails to show the substance of a gamer's evolution in a specific game, in a specific genre, or in the hobby and craft as a whole.
So I think what you're saying is that it shows the destination, but not the journey.
Bingo.
All right. Yeah, I'm a big myth guy, so I totally get you on that. So, I would say that, you're 100% correct. The leaderboard shows you where you stand among your peers, right? Ironically, and this is not by intention, I'm wearing a Soldier 76 shirt, right, on Overwatch, and I don't know if you know this, chat. Season 1 of Overwatch, I was the number 3 Soldier 76 in the world. Right? That didn't last very long, because I played a lot when it first came out. I enjoyed it. I had fun. I liked Soldier 76, also known as Daddy 76, right? But at season 2, I was like above 100. Like that, because I was learning other characters. I wasn't trying to be competitive with Soldier 76. I just happened to measure myself, and it's auto tracked for you. I wasn't going out of my way for it. You just look at, see where you're at, where you stand in ranked, right? So, and I wasn't like dead set on keeping that title or getting number 1. I was just there. That's how I compared on season 1 of Overwatch. What does that tell me? Then that just told me that there's not a lot of other people playing this game just yet. Nothing to show like my skill. I know that there are other players out there that are way better than me, love Overwatch more than me, right? It's just during that season, I had picked Soldier 76 the most, right? And learned that character the most, because I gotta be real with you, he's the easiest person to play in the game. He's Call of Duty man, right? So I mean, it's not a flex whatsoever, but that's why I don't go around putting it on my gamer tag that I was a 3rd, and you can check past season. It got worse. Like then I was like after season 3, I was over 500. I was not playing the character, and other people were getting better than me. Right. So what did that fail to understand? It didn't. It just showed to me that somebody was tracking GQ Asian dude on those leaderboards. We're going, is he progressively getting worse at this game? What the heck, right? It was more like, maybe I'm playing other games. Maybe I'm not playing that character when I play Overwatch. Maybe I'm focusing on something else. There's so much contextual information that's missing, right? that you cannot just make like a final decision on something because you don't know the full picture. Right? Because kind of goes back to what we're talking about. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Another great
go ahead.
example,
Yeah,
just
go ahead.
really quick. Another great example is the leaderboards for Deadest Disco.
I was going to bring that up.
Now, with Deadest Disco, yeah, I'm sure y'all have seen it. Between me, Sandwich, and Oliver, we were going blow for blow. We were trading bars on the scoreboard for Deadest Disco. But while it showed the numbers, the real show was in the interaction between the three of us. It was in Oliver's reactions to seeing my scores suddenly up there. And he's like, oh, I need to put a stop to this. It was in me seeing those high scores that Oliver said and me going, okay, how can I beat him by 1 point just to piss him off?
Little friendly competition didn't hurt nobody.
Exactly. And the friendly competition was the show. That was the real substance of what was going on with Deadest Disco, not the numbers on the scoreboard itself.
I'll put it in front of you guys.
There you go. There you have it.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I was the outsider looking in, going, yeah, this, and I go, oh wait, Oliver's gonna be mad that he beat his score.
Exactly, and that's what I was going for. It's not, it wasn't just, oh, Oliver's gonna be pissed, but it's like someone else sees this and goes, oh, Oliver's gonna be pissed.
Yeah, and see right there that they're making competition fun. It wasn't stressful. It wasn't, they're having just like, a friendly competition among each other, right? And if you choose to partake, great. If not, then you don't. Simply as that. But if I do see a high score, I'm like, okay, let's see if I can beat that. Let's just try, right? Let's just try. If you can't, you're probably going to go, Ace, how'd you get that score so high? You're probably going to learn something you didn't even know about.
Exactly.
Right? So there it is. There it is. So, all right. This brings us to question number 2. When did a rank, high score, or leaderboard actually make you a better gamer? There we go.
And well, Deadest Disco. Like, as we were, as we were having that little, fun back and forth between us, and as we were seeing just how well we could, piss each other off with getting like progressively high scores on Deadest Disco. What we were doing in order to get those high scores was actually digging further into the systems, using, other techniques and other moves that we hadn't been using at the start or hadn't been thinking to use. And it's like, oh, wait. Those little tricks, not only can we use those to get higher scores just to, beat each other's records, but then we take those tricks with us into the main game. Like, say, if we try and replay certain story missions, and that right there starts marking our growth, because now we're using more of the tools on hand and actually getting better at the game. Same could be said for, a great example coming up in the chat right now, Mario Kart. Being able to race against, people's ghosts that set the records on your cartridge, or, seeing, what little tricks with like boosting or using shortcuts or different jumps. Burnout Revenge is another great example. It's
actually, I will expand on that. Let's pause on Burnout Revenge for a second. Matter of fact, I don't know if you, and I think Ace found this out this year about Burnout Revenge, maybe last year, right? The whole point of Burnout Revenge goes deep in that game, because when you get crashed by another character, it shows you in the game who last hit you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you had the 360 version in Burnout Revenge, they would tell you when they were online, and you can join their game to get revenge.
Yeah.
Chat, that's next level saltiness.
It's like, oh, you want payback? They're on right now.
Imagine just playing it. You're playing Burnout, right? One night, some dude, with a crazy name like GQ Asian dude just crashes you, and you're like, this motherfucker. And then I bail, right? And then the next game I bail, right?
It's like, you're
But
not
then-
just gonna pump and dump. What are
Yeah.
you doing?
And then you get so salty because like you were winning and I just like wreck you, right? And you're like, when this guy comes back online, I'm gonna get him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get him.
Comes in, wrecks you. It's like says nothing further, leaves.
Yep. Matter of fact, emojis and then leaves.
Yeah.
That's even worse, right? But then the next time he's online and you're like, oh, he's playing a game, there's an option be like, GQ Asian dude is online. Would you like to join his game? You can do that immediately to get revenge. That is a small thing they added to the game that made it way better, I think, in my opinion, and went deep on revenge. Right?
Like it didn't just understand the assignment, it rewrote the assignment.
When I played Need for Speed Rivals, the theme of Rivals was like one team were racers, the other team were cops, right? And then you usually pick a faction before you start the game, and then your friends on your friends list that have the game will actually have their ghosts for the maps that you're playing on, and depending on if you're a racer and they were a cop, like they would chase you, or they would show the ghost chasing you if it would reach you to where you were at, and vice versa. So I thought that was always like a thing that didn't have to add, but it added so much more flavor to the game for the nature of the game, right? So I guess going back to when did a rank, high score, and leaderboard actually make you a better gamer? I think it's a good flagpole to put down, a good post to say this is where I'm at.
Right.
But it doesn't define you there forever.
Right. It's a good benchmark. But you'll know when the scoreboard actually like helps make you a better player when the first question that comes to mind is, what did they do to get that score?
Mm-hmm.
What did they do that I didn't to get that score?
I would say my experience of this, Andre, what did I say? I'm gonna get a Tekken King. Right when I was playing Tekken, I'm gonna get there. It was a grueling uphill battle because Brian Fury is busted. In that season, I think it was season 2, and Jin Kazuma was just kind of bad. He was a very middle. But I showed you guys, I showed you screenshots, and I said, hey, I'm gonna get there. And if you look at thunderfist.gg or something like that, tgfist.gg, it's a Tekken leaderboard, right? And I'll pull that up here in a second. It shows you where you're at in total of your experience in playing Tekken. And there's a lot of my friends that have been continuously playing. They've made it to Tekken Emperor, right? Because they keep playing the game. But I decided to play other games, so I got stuck at Tekken King. So what does that tell you? It doesn't say that I'm a bad or I capped out at Tekken King. It just shows you I haven't committed to increasing it more, right? So, all right. Number 3. When did chasing rank make a game less fun for you?
Street Fighter 6.
Tell me more.
Now, I actually just dealing with rankings. I'll say it right here and now. Dealing with rankings and just dealing with playing online and having like the constant reminder of your rank was a good chunk of the reason why I had stopped playing Street Fighter 6 altogether, let alone stopped playing it online, because there's still so much mechanically with the game that just made it rough to even feel like you were progressing at all. And, after a certain point, I spend more time, it's like, I want to hit a certain rank with, let's say you want to hit let's say I was trying to hit one of the higher ranks with Marisa. But I kept getting paired up with against a lot of characters like Jury or Cammy or, God forbid, Ken and JP.
Mm-hmm.
And more often than not, and again, this is just how it felt to me. It felt like a lot of what was being used against me wasn't just stuff that was in the characters' kits, but it was also stuff in the system itself that, as much as I tried to counter, I just didn't have enough experience to properly counter or even utilize myself. So it made my deficiency at the game more apparent. And as I saw I was losing points in the rankings and eventually ranking down entirely, it wasn't even a case of, oh, you took a few hits but you can still keep climbing. It was just you kept taking those hits and your rank's just going to go down. Good luck trying to build those points back up. So between that and the community at the time, it really did feel a lot like players were being defined specifically by their rank, not their skill, not by how much they had grown, but literally just the static numbers on the screen.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of fighting game players out there that get demotivated by rank, right? And there's one that I've been following. I think her name is Kujo Kate, and she hosts a lot of like fight nights on her streams, and she doesn't care about rank, right? She's actually quite high. She's actually really like competent player, right? But she care less. Same thing with Tekken. I think her Tekken rank is beginner. She doesn't go to rank. She just plays player matches. She just wants to get good, right? And that's, I think it might be just like I don't know. It hits people differently. Like I don't give a shit about it. And points don't matter. Honestly, like Tekken King, great, right? But that's for me. That was for me that I wanted to get up there. But if I was like not at Tekken King and I didn't care about Tekken, I don't give a shit. Street Fighter, don't give a shit. Honestly, like I think I did my first 5 matches and it put me in like platinum or something, or diamond or something like that. And I was like, why do I belong up here? I don't think I did anything different, right? The reason why I said that is because my Ryu was like in diamond. Which one's less? Diamond or platinum? I can't remember. But I think it was platinum, and then diamond's above that. Was in platinum. Then I played Honda, and I don't think I did anything different. I just was competent. I wasn't like doing optimization or anything like that. And I was in diamond, and I think I had lost 3 games as Honda, and I won 4 games with Ryu, and I was ranked lower with Ryu than I was with Honda. Right. So to me, I'm just like, well, this makes no sense. I don't understand the science behind this. Nor does it matter, because go ahead.
Yeah, and even now, I know, like intellectually, like in the back of my head, I know, it's likely just an issue with how I personally was approaching it, especially since, again, the way the rankings worked, the way the rankings were measured in Street Fighter 6, it doesn't make much immediate sense. So,
yeah. And honestly, I think rankings in specifically Street Fighter, like, I think it's all about just the amount of matches you put in. Like if when I go back and pull up my Tekken stats with Jin himself, let me pull it up here. Right? Check this out. So with Jin, I don't know, the last character I played was Armor King. I guess this is why Armor King is. But Jin is my main character. Look at my wins and losses. I have 697 wins and 527 losses. I played 1,300 games of Tekken. That's what you have to look at. To get to this point, I had to play 1,300 games. Right? Not I don't care about wins or losses, but I'm just saying, like, that's the total amount of time I put in Tekken. That to me is more important, right? And we're talking about journey versus the destination. Fighting games is always about the journey. Always. Because once you get to your destination, you get decimated. Maybe you miss something in the journey. That's usually what happens, right? So, and here's
again, just knowing that, knowing that, and knowing that about myself, it's like, you know what, I'm not really having fun with this. I feel like I'm going about this the wrong way, so I'm just going to take a step back. If I get back into Street Fighter 6, then I get back into it. If not, then I don't.
I'm a bit real with you. Fighting games are very, very nuanced, right? Because there's updates to the game all the time. Your character could change.
Yep.
On a patch. I learned this with Strive. I played Nago for the first like 2 seasons, right? And they updated him on the third one, and whatever I was doing in the first 2 wasn't working anymore.
Oh.
And I think it was as simple as like his low jab. I think his low jab was like, I don't know, it was mid-low or something like that. It hitbox was mid-low, and they switched it to like only mid so people can duck it or something. And that was like changing up the way I was playing, like, because I was whiffing buttons, right? And if for those that don't understand what I'm talking about, we'll figure that out at a different time. But patches change the way you play your character, and it changes the way other people play their character. So it's not a good measurement for you to be like, I just suck at this game. What I'm trying to say is you should give it another shot when the season changes, right? You should give it another shot when your mindset changes. You should give it another shot when you just are feeling to play, give it another shot. Feeling it, right? Don't force yourself to play a game. Don't force yourself to play a game that you hate. We say play with intention. Absolutely play with intention. In fighting games, it's probably one of the most key things in fighting games is playing with intention. Okay. As for me in Street Fighter, so what I learned about Street Fighter, and it's actually in general fighting games. So actually, I'll talk to you about in Tekken because I have more experience in Tekken. So in Tekken, there's colored ranks. It goes yellow, red, green, purple. Then after you beat purple, it's like Tekken King, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brother, when you're in like purple rank to get to that, like just the tip to get off the colors and go to Tekken King, it is the hardest grind ever. And and I found this out the hard way. It's because it's where you separate the scrubs and the actual people who know how to play Tekken. That is Tekken King. That red rank or that purple rank, not Tekken King. That purple rank is where you punish people for making dumb decisions because they're just pressing buttons, right? Versus the ones that know exactly how to play Tekken. So to me, that's what I learned. Because when you lose in purple, you get D-ranked to like blue, right? And in blue, you can smoke people in blue. You go right back to purple. So that tells me that in purple, there's people out there that really know how to play Tekken, and then there's people like me that are trying to get the grasp of it, right? And so to me, as a player, I was like, I need to know what they know to get to Tekken King, and I need to be able to take what they know and use it against them, right? So that was my aha and takeaway moment in playing Tekken and getting to Tekken King, was that I was able to kind of isolate what made people good in purple rank to break through that barrier to Tekken King. If you didn't do any introspection, you would just be frustrated in purple rank and you would hate the fucking game. I can tell you that right now, because you're not making changes and adaptations to the game the way it's meant to be played, right? And that could be not fun for people, and that could be the end of your Tekken journey. It could be as simple as that, right? So, all right. To me, chasing rank made it fun because by the way, Tekken King is not the last rank. It's like God of Destruction or something like that. I don't have enough time in my day to play Tekken to get to God of Destruction. So, and I've seen people at God of Destruction. They're next level. My brain does not even compute how they play this game. So, all right, number 4. Can someone be a great gamer and even when they're not highly ranked? I mean, I would say yes. Right?
I mean,
Because
you just gave a great example with
Yeah.
what's her name, with Kujo Kate.
I think like you can get okay. First we have to define what is a gamer, right? And what does it define to me to be a great gamer? Are you gaming to be competitive? Here at Gamer Quotient, we have different quotients for gaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it really just depends on the definition. So, you know, well, what's your thought on that?
Well, yeah. As far as like being a, as far as like being a great gamer, that that's really going to depend on the person. Like what goal they set as far as how they as far as how they approach gaming. Are you looking to be a great competitive gamer or a great competitor? Are you looking to be a great build crafter? Are you looking to be the kind of gamer that is proficient in what's the word? Proficient in sussing out the different story beats for like a for a story based game.
Yeah.
But as far as whether or not you can excel at being any type of gamer and still being low ranked, absolutely. Again, it's scoreboards and rankings. It's static numbers that basically measure more or less how much time you've put into the game or how much time you've put into specific facets of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even look at damage numbers, like say the damage numbers that pop up when you're like going through missions and you're doing stuff in Warframe, for example. More often than not, you think, okay, how is someone getting that kind of damage? You're not going to be doing that kind of damage when you start the game, but as you get further in and as you start picking up more gear and start experimenting more with what's available, especially in the end game, that's when you've got better chances at hitting those damage numbers, at hitting those high scores.
Well, I put Tokon up here because that's the next game I'm going to grind out. Like I'm going to learn this game from head to toe. I played the beta and I'm like, this game is deep. Like this is definitely not Marvel UMVC 3. This is like way beyond that now. There's a lot going on in this game, and I think that's part of the fun of the journey is learning Tokon, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think this question can be easily answered. I could say Ace is really good at Monster Hunter, but is he a great gamer? Oliver's really good at playing Dead as Disco, but is he a great gamer? So you can say Oliver's a great gamer, then you can be like, well, why? And then I would say that I would say and I would argue that your next words will be like the things that you love about Oliver and how he plays games. Right? Like I'll give you an example. I think Oliver is a great gamer because he actually uses he's the what do you call it? The lab rat. He loves analyzing games. Love it. That's to me, I like that. That makes him a great gamer to me, right? It's because yesterday, when he was playing Sinking City, he was looking at like the landscape, the design of the game, and I was like, not a lot of people do that when they stream. They usually just play the game and enjoy it. But he went down and broke down like, this is accurate. This is good. Like it was like watching that pop up VH1,
Mm-hmm.
right? To me, that's a great game, right? Also, I would say Ace is a great gamer because he often displays games I've never heard of before, right? And that's important to me. So everybody could be great in a different way, right? And did I mention anything about their rank at all? I don't think so. I think rank is like, it's like you're being good at your job, right? Because like enjoying your hobby and enjoying your job are two different things. Like rank is serious, but I'm not comparing the two when it comes to like a specific position. Because rank, you're in one game and you're comparing everybody that's playing that game. Right? And it has to be played a specific way to optimize numbers. It's totally different.
It's within a specific context.
Yeah. The only bad gamers are those that don't strive to get better at games that they enjoy. I think like when you say this game sucks in a 10-second clip, that's a bad gamer. I was joshing you guys. But honestly, like I honestly believe that like if you don't give a game a chance and you just give it like, you know, you're this sucks because it's too hard. How are you any different than those journalists that couldn't get past tutorial in Cuphead?
Right.
So I don't want to hear you saying that like journalists are terrible and I'm a better gamer than them when you can't even do the same on a different game, right? You're no better than them. So just be careful what you guys throwing out there in the wild because they'll eventually come back at you, right? Okay. Last question. What is one gaming win you're proud of that no leaderboard could ever track? Time to brag.
So yeah, my big gaming win, I would say, is also one of my harshest gaming losses, and that's taking it all the way back to Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I was, after weeks of facing off against this guy, I was able to not only get around off of a current Evo Marvel vs. Capcom 2 champion, but I was able to do so because I was learning from him on the fly as we played. And again, scoreboards don't measure, they don't measure a growth of your skill set. They don't measure a growth of, knowledge or of your experience. It just measures, it's numbers basically. But yeah, one of my biggest gaming wins that I can't measure is getting that round in Marvel 2, and then bringing it forward to something a little more recent. I'm gonna take it to Monster Hunter, with Monster Hunter Wilds. As we were going through and learning the fight with Omega, I'd say my biggest contribution to our group actually learning and mastering that fight was how I had gotten, at the start, I was getting the most, I was getting a good chunk of the breaks, but it was because I was getting the most strategic drops. Like I, pretty much whenever it came to like tanking certain attacks from Omega or, getting rock drops in the area, that was me. That was my specialty, kind of paving the way. And then, Oliver gets in there and he's like, "Oh, that's what you're doing. You do this, 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 this." And it's like, damn it. But, that was my Soldier 76 moment.
Yeah. Good. Here's the thing. My proudest moment is not even being Soldier 76. That was just a byproduct of me liking a game. Because I just had checked where I was. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna wonder how I rank in this game. And I was just like, oh, I'm third. What the hell in the world? That's pretty cool, right? Mm-hmm. I'll bring up a picture that I think is my finest moment in gaming history. And no, chat, it is not a scene from The Wizard, but it is a scene from a video game tournament that I remain victorious. So
I remember that too.
In our local scene here, and not only did I win this video game tournament, I won it wearing a shirt and tie. hence, hence the headmaster. So the lineup for this tournament this was called Retroid, the Gauntlet 2. This was a sequel. I had defeated the reigning champion because I didn't even know there was a Retroid 1. And then when I found out Retroid 2 was around, I was like, I'll give it a shot. I'll grab a beer and just, maybe play some games. The roster for this game was number 1, Kung Fu Chaos. It was like deathmatch, like last man standing. Okay. Ghouls and Ghosts, highest score wins. Midnight Club, I think the event was drag racing, like first place wins.
Mm-hmm.
Time Splitters 2, deathmatch. And the GOAT, Bust a Groove. Right? And luckily for me, the last game, Bust a Groove, my opponent did not even know what this game was. And I was like, bro, it's just DDR. Yeah, but you don't know that, but I do because I game.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think there was also like a Marvel versus Capcom game in there snuck in. Marvel 2.
Because I remember I was actually playing against you for a little bit in Marvel 2. And I remember the look on your face after going a couple of matches against my Cammy. You were like, oh wait, she could do that?
Yeah, Cammy. Like I remember, I think that Cammy was like, I didn't think anybody else played Cammy better than your Cammy, from my experience. And then I started playing Cammy with Spider-Man and Captain. So, but yeah, so like this was my proud moment because like this was like a spectacle. This was like on like a second floor of a bar. There's a lot of people there. People were just having fun left and right. The champion of last year's Retroid was like dressed up as Randy Savage. He had the belt and everything, and I was like, this guy is good. and he's not gonna expect the guy with the newsboy cap and shirt and tie to be good at video games. And that's that. And take a lesson from Frank Dukes, not Frank Dukes, Frank from what is it, like American Gangster. The loudest man in the room is the weakest man in the room. I don't know why I said it like in Italian, but yeah, that's my man. And that night I learned it's not about how you look. It's not about, the stereotype. It's just about having fun. And also, who knew my skills in Buster Groove was going to get me a gaming trophy? Right. So you just never know where your gaming skills will take you, chat. And thus Gamer Quotient was born in this moment. So that's my story for it. And I think I gave this trophy away to like some like lucky guy in the store. Like they came in and I was like, you win a prize. Here you go. Like I didn't even keep it. So, but that was my moment. That was my Evo moment 27, whatever it was. Which brings us to the final boss for tonight, titled as such as your personal best. All right. How appropriate. All right. Tonight's final boss, the scoreboard doesn't define you / personal best. Okay. You've trained, you've leveled up, you've taken the hits, you've learned the pattern, and it's time to face your final boss. Tonight's final boss is called Personal Best because tonight we talked about the rankings, leaderboards, high scores, stats, trophies, KD ratios, win rates, all the above. Now, all the numbers that games use to tell us where we stand. And let's be fair, those numbers can matter, right? A leaderboard can give you something to chase. A rank ladder can show you where you need to improve. A high score can push you to take one more run. That is the skill. A faster time can prove you learn the route. Need for Speed Rivals, right? Competition can sharpen you. It can make you stronger. Yes, it can. It can force you to stop guessing, stop button mashing, stop making excuses, and start learning the game at a deeper level. Let's go back to my Tekken story, right? This is not a bad thing. Some of us need competition, kind of like Ace and Oliver's back-to-back, right? Some of us are built for the climb. Some of us do not feel fully awake until there is a scoreboard, a timer, and a bracket, a rival, or a rank on the line. But class, this is where we have to be careful. The scoreboard can measure the match, but it cannot measure the meaning. A leaderboard can tell you where you rank, but it cannot tell you what kind of gamer you are. It cannot tell you who you helped, who you encouraged, how much you learned, how much joy you found, and what that game meant to you during a hard season. I know lots of gamers out there that can relate to lots of games they remember that got them through a bunch of stuff. Okay, I being one of them. That is the problem when numbers become identity. Feels like the gaming industry. A rank is useful when it gives you direction, but it becomes dangerous when it becomes your worth. A high score is useful when it gives you a target, but it becomes dangerous when it becomes your value. Stats are useful when they help you understand your performance, but they become dangerous when they make you forget your purpose. And that is why playing with intention matters, because playing with intention asks a better question than, where do I rank? It asks you, the gamer, why am I playing? Am I playing to improve, compete, connect, learn? Am I playing because I love this? Or am I playing because I need the number to tell me if I'm good enough? This is the real fight. Scoreboard can be very loud. It tells you immediately when you won or lost. But the growth is nicer and quieter. Growth does not always flash on the screen. Sometimes growth can be a few things. Staying calm when you used to tilt, losing and not blaming your teammates. Nah, if you play Overwatch, you do that all the time. Learning the matchup instead of calling it cheap. I say that all the time. Krauser's cheap. Teaching someone new instead of gatekeeping the game. Sometimes growth is choosing to stop for the night because you know you are not playing healthy anymore. That is personal best. Personal best is not just a number. It is you versus the player you used to be, a version of you that used to panic, used to quit, and used to blame the game. That version you thought losing meant you had no value. The cleanest leaderboard is not always the goal. It's not global. Sometimes the cleanest leaderboard is internal. Are you better than the player you were yesterday? Not perfect, not top rank, not number one in the world, but just simply better. More aware, more patient, more honest, more intentional. Because being a good gamer is not about being good at the games. Not about that. Only not about that. Being a good gamer is also about how you show up, how you compete, lose, win, treat people, how you learn, and you protect your love for the hobby. A toxic player can have a high rank. A selfish player can have a top scoreboard. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure a lot of those guys up there are toxic and selfish. Players who ruin the lobby can still have a great stats. So we have to stop pretending the number tells the whole truth, because being good at a game is one kind of value. Being good for the game is another. Sometimes that second one matters more than the scoreboard will ever understand. So tonight's lesson is not to ignore the scoreboard, but use it, study it, teach it. Let it teach you. Let it challenge you. Let it point out where you need work, like a mirror. Let competition sharpen you, but do not worship it. Do not hand it your identity. Do not let it decide whether you're allowed to enjoy the game. Do not let it turn every session into judgment. Do not let it make you forget why you picked up the controller in the first place. Because the goal is not to be ranked. The goal is to grow. The goal is to learn. The goal is to compete with purpose. The goal is to play in a way that makes you better without making you bitter. So chase that high score, climb that ladder, enter that tournament, set that personal record, and while you do, ask yourself this: am I improving? Am I still learning? Am I still loving this? Am I competing for growth? Am I just competing for approval? Because if that scoreboard helps you grow, use it. If that leaderboard pushes you forward, respect it. But if that number starts stealing your joy, shrinking your identity, poisoning your attitude, and making you forget who you are, take a step back and remember, your rank shows where you are. It does not decide who you are. Scoreboard can measure your performance, cannot measure your purpose. And the high score is a target, but it's not your worth. So tonight, class, your homework is simple. Find your personal best, not just the number. Look for the growth. Look for that lesson, the better version of yourself that gaming is helping you become. Because that cleanest win is not always beating everyone else. Sometimes the cleanest win is looking back and realizing, I am not the same player I used to be. That is progress. That is playing with intention. And that is your gamer quotient for tonight. All right. So, yeah, a couple takeaways from that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's going back to what I said about how I had been playing Street Fighter 6 and how I had stopped because it felt like it started getting to that point where I wasn't playing healthy. Like I wasn't playing healthy for me. Every time I wanted to try and get online and play against people, it just felt it felt more like a chore. It felt more like I wasn't having fun with it. And the moment I recognized that I was dealing with more stress every time I logged on, that was my decision to take a step back. It's protecting that protecting that energy, protecting that time for myself.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think this is why when it comes to fighting games, it's not about being in the lab, having the best combos. It's getting that experience to show yourself what are your weaknesses. Like it's a mirror to yourself. I don't see fighting games as like that guy just simply better than me, right? I see it as a mirror to myself. What am I doing that's not right here? Or like what can I do better? Right? Like I go, okay, I keep getting hit by this move. Why do I keep falling for that? Am I just tilted right now? Right.
Right.
So
I feel like once I can get back into that particular mindset, then yeah, I'll jump back into Street Fighter. I'll jump into online with other fighting games too.
Here's something you have to understand in fighting games, and this goes to the chat, everyone here, right? If you're not playing, the community is. And if you're looking to be better than the community, they're already steps ahead of you, right? So the grind is part of it. It's the being used to it, being used to like seeing the certain situations. I'm not at Tekken King because I have 200 matches. I'm there because I have like 1,300 matches. Right? I never talk about how many wins I got. It's just the amount of times I played, because that experience of playing 1,300 times tells me something in my brain. When this happens, this is what's going to happen if I don't do this. So that's chat. If you're going to learn fighting games, you got to take it like that, right? Don't be too hard on yourself. Just know there's always room for improvement. There's always room. You're not going to win all the time. Winning feels good. But if you want to learn, losing is the best way to do it. But you got to remove the anger aspect out of it. You got to learn to lose with grace and then come back even better than you were last time. That's the point, right? So if you like winning, you gotta deal with the losing. I'm the same way. I don't like Brian Fury, right? All his moves are safe, but we got through it. Right, we got through it. So, and that's my my takeaway for this. My personal best, I would say, is my personal best always shows up when I can take the time to say, why am I so bad at this? Like I would say I was not a fan of Souls games at first, and then I realized I'm like, I think it's because I'm rushing. I think it's because like I just want to beat this guy, and every game that I've played hasn't forced me to play aggressively. Right. And before they can kill me, I kill them first. It doesn't work like that in Souls games. So I had to change my mentality when I play a Souls game. Like I gotta go back to Nintendo era and say, this is the pattern. This is what they do. And that's the only way you're gonna be able to beat this boss. If you can't grasp that, you shouldn't be playing Souls games. You're just gonna be mad, and you're gonna be like, why am I terrible at this game, right?
Yep.
And that's not true. You're not bad at the game. You're bad at understanding why you can't overcome it's like obstacles. That's it. All right. That's my takeaway. Ace, take us home.
Will do. So, that being said, controllers down, everybody. Ranked anxiety checked at the door, and somebody please remind the headmaster that checking the leaderboard one more time doesn't count as research.
Stop it.
Bad. But tonight, Class 85, the scoreboard doesn't define you, gave us a real lesson. Rankings can be useful. Leaderboards can be useful. High scores can be useful. Stats, trophies, achievements, win rates, KD ratios, speed run times, rank tiers, all of that information can help us see where we stand and what we need to work on. Competition can definitely sharpen the player, but it should never shrink the person. That's the key. Because your rank can show your performance, but it can't show your purpose. It can't show the friend you helped learn a game. It can't show the patience you built after losing over and over. It can't show the fun you brought to the lobby. If you're jumping into Warframe and you see someone holler, "I hope y'all like Overguard," it's probably me. Get ready for some dumb shit to happen. But anyway, it can't show the comfort a game gave you during a hard season or during a hard season of your life. It can't show you the way you grew from the player you used to be. That's why tonight's lesson matters. The scoreboard's not the enemy, but the scoreboard should never become your identity. Use the rankings, study the stats, chase the high score, climb the ladder, compete with purpose, but don't forget why you picked up the controller in the first place. Because being good at a game is one kind of value. Being good for the game, like we said earlier, being good for the game is a different kind of value. And sometimes that second one matters a whole lot more than any leaderboard will ever be able to understand, dictate, or display. So as we close tonight's class, remember this. Your personal best isn't just a number. It's the growth, the lesson, the discipline, the joy, the better version of yourself that gaming helped you become. This has been Gamer Quotient Gaming Academy. I'm Blazing Ace Nelson, reminding you to play with intention, compete with purpose, protect your joy, and never let the scoreboard tell you who you are. Y'all do us a favor over this next week. Make sure you take care of yourselves and each other. And until next time, class dismissed.
You said it, chat. It's over.
Mission complete.
Go on. Go home. Go.